I'm Adeline, and it is so nice to meet you. Welcome to the 60th Celebrity Synastry chart reading, where we will be covering Jennie Kim and Taehyung. For those new and returning, I take notes on a synastry chart looking at the personal planet signs, aspects, and birth times available house overlays. I also add my extra insights and interpretations along the way. Feel free to leave your own in the comments below. Before we start the reading, give this video a like and subscribe for more celebrity synastry chart readings. Let's get into it. Starting off with the sun, we have Jennie's sun in Capricorn and Taehyung's sun in Capricorn, so same sign. They're a successful business team and they have a dry relationship. I don't believe they're in the same bands, but they are still in that sort of like K-pop music industry, so it makes sense, I guess. It's a practical relationship and they appreciate each other's maturity. They build a secure and stable life together. Taehyung's sun overlaid in Jennie's first house. Taehyung really likes Jennie and marriage is possible. Jennie is energized by Taehyung and Taehyung is a light in Jennie's life. Both feel positive about the other and they both feel familiar with each other. So considering this, and we did see that they do tend to have that practical dry relationship, and considering what they actually do or industry they're in, I have to assume they do spend a lot of time together despite being in those separate bands. I should probably say groups, that will probably be the better words to use from now on. They both boost the other's self-esteem and they bring out the best in each other. Taehyung feels like Jennie really gets him. Taehyung feels like he can be himself around Jennie, and Jennie appreciates the admiration she gets from Taehyung. Jennie's sun squared Taehyung's moon. Basic misunderstanding and practical disagreements. I'm sure if it's a practical relationship, you'll bump into disagreements. Taehyung sees Jennie as too rational and selfish, potentially selfish if he is giving her all of this admiration, and potentially she may not be reciprocating back or maybe taking advantage of that admiration. He could see it as selfish. Jennie sees Taehyung as too sensitive and there's general discontent. Taehyung may feel resentful towards Jennie over time. Jennie's sun opposite Taehyung's Mercury. There's good communication and they enjoy learning together. Productive domestic life. I wonder if they do live together somehow, because so far we are seeing a bit more domestic, committed notes. We saw that they build a secure and stable life together, but also that marriage is possible, so I'm not sure if they do live together in some way or their relationship is quite serious in that way. They share and talk about ideas and Taehyung values Jennie's views. Taehyung feels free to speak around Jennie, so again we're seeing he feels like he can really be himself around her. Jennie's sun conjunct Taehyung's Mars. They respect each other and they energize each other. We're seeing if they're energizing again. Both see the other as their type, and Jennie sees Taehyung as too defensive. Potentially going back to like his sensitivity, maybe he, sometimes when you tend to be sensitive, you may sometimes deflect to be defensive about particular things that aren't necessary. Taehyung sees Jennie as too judgmental. They challenge and frustrate each other.
Now for the intermission. This video is brought to you by me, my Etsy store, Adeline the Astrologer. If you ever watch this and think, hey, I would like her to read my synastry chart, well, I will. I do personalized synastry readings on my Etsy store, both basic and detailed. The basic one is very simple to understand. It's not overwhelming at all. It's pretty good for those that are beginners to astrology, just getting the head around astrology, or just as a fun gift idea. The detailed one is just like what I do on my channel, just a lot of insight and interpretation on your chart. So if you are interested in that and everything else astrology and tarot related, readings and gifts, then definitely check out my Etsy store. Links are below. I'm always releasing new things, so definitely check it out if you're interested. You can even just favorite the store just to show your support for free. Thanks for listening, and let's get back to the reading.
Jennie's sun conjunct Taehyung's Neptune. They meet each other suddenly and are separated at key moments. I'm not surprised, like both their careers involve a lot of touring. They need to embrace spontaneity and the relationship is outside of tradition. Jennie is willing to support Taehyung's desires. Met when both were looking for something different. Okay. Jennie triggers Taehyung to explore his individuality, which makes a lot of sense. If he feels like he can be himself around her, that would create a safe space for Taehyung to explore what himself really is, if that makes sense. Jennie is attracted to Taehyung's unconventional qualities, and Taehyung challenges Jennie to be more unconventional. Jennie wants more stability, so potentially wanting more. We'll see a bit more, maybe wants more of a commitment from Taehyung, but also she's driving that sort of, we did see earlier, they tend to have that stable, secure relationship. Potentially she's the one that's really driving that. Jennie's Sun conjunct Taehyung's Neptune. It's a very spiritual relationship, and Jennie is fascinated by Taehyung, potentially his unconventional qualities, intuitive communication and understanding, and Taehyung is attracted to Jennie's straightforward nature. Both need to be careful to not confuse reality and illusions. This relationship boosts Jennie's intuitiveness. Taehyung's Sun conjunct Jennie's Jupiter. It's a friendship and they're a lucky couple, definitely financially so and opportunity-wise. They have an optimistic meeting and there's healthy competition. I imagine there would be healthy competition because they are in separate groups, but they are both very much successful and kind of like in the same industry but kind of different leagues, you know, enjoy travel together and they are open with each other. Overindulgence can easily happen and they have lots of faith in each other. Benefit of the doubt is commonplace. So now it's time for moon. We have Jennie's moon in Scorpio and Taehyung's moon in Aries. In traditional astrology, these are both ruled by Mars planet. Drawn to each other's passionate natures, and Jennie's deep emotions makes Taehyung uncomfortable. Both have strong emotional responses, and Taehyung's feelings are more simple than Jennie's. Taehyung's moon overlaid in Jennie's 4th house. It's love-hate. They have conflicting feelings. Thus far, with conflicting feelings, there seems to be a bit more conflicting feelings on Taehyung's side. We have been seeing a lot of how Taehyung feels very comfortable around Jennie. She creates a really comfortable atmosphere for him so he can be himself. But we did see a couple times already, you know, he sees her as being a bit more rational, judgmental, selfish. Both feel deeply bonded to each other, and Taehyung may feel like a parent to Jennie. Interesting. Both feel the need to spend time apart, so I guess it's kind of good they are separated at key moments. And they are competitive like siblings, we see again with the competition. Jennie's moon is sextile Taehyung's Mars. They are open with each other, we keep seeing. Taehyung feels more assertive, potentially why he may feel like a parent. Jennie makes Taehyung feel at ease, and there's mutual fascination. Taehyung helps Jennie to be more confident and bold. I'm glad we're seeing this on both ends, that they both seem to make each other feel confident. Jennie feeds into Taehyung's ego and it can be tumultuous at times. They both learn about themselves here. Again, we did see earlier it is a learning relationship, so it makes sense. Jennie's moon trine Taehyung's Saturn. Building on past traditions is important. I want to skew this a bit because the only thing we have seen traditions-wise is the relationship goes outside of tradition. Potentially, past traditions is just generally important, whether it is following it or going against it. It's a stable relationship, we see again. Potential for accumulating wealth. I'm sure they have done that very nicely. Jennie sees Taehyung as mature, and Taehyung is accountable with Jennie. Taehyung's desire for commitment is appealing to Jennie, and Taehyung prioritizes domestic life. There's a lot. So far, I feel like for a normal reading, there's definitely the more than average notes on like the whole domestic thing. It keeps coming up. Taehyung finds it difficult to be emotionally caring, which we did just see kind of. We saw that Taehyung's feelings are more simple than Jennie's, so potentially he maybe doesn't grasp Jennie's more complex feelings. They can achieve mutual long-term goals together. Taehyung's moon squared Jennie's Uranus. Taehyung is possessive of Jennie and the relationship can begin suddenly, which we did see, and it seems like it was a bit more positive when it comes to the meeting. Taehyung feels emotionally insecure around Jennie. Okay, so both of them emotionally in this relationship seems to need work so far. Taehyung's moon squared Jennie's Neptune. They misunderstand each other's signals and it's a confusing relationship. In some ways it seems to be. I feel like with Taehyung's feelings towards Jennie, but also emotionally it seems a bit iffy as well. Possibility of neglecting each other. I have to assume this is like when it comes to separation and everything, you naturally tend to neglect each other. Taehyung is unsure of Jennie's intentions and difficulty maintaining the relationship. Taehyung is sensitive to Jennie's moods. This is interesting. Maybe he feels emotionally insecure because he can't do a whole lot about Jennie's emotions, but he seems to be very sensitive to it and how she feels and everything. So now it's time for Mercury. We have Jennie's Mercury in Aquarius and Taehyung's Mercury in Capricorn. Capricorn. Taehyung gets impatient with Jennie and they fundamentally communicate the same way. It seems like it. Communication-wise, it seems very open, a little bit of intuition there, so all good seems like. Taehyung teaches Jennie to be more practical. Jennie teaches Taehyung to be more open-minded. So this relationship, there does seem to be that element of helping each other be more open-minded, be a bit more comfortable being themselves together. And because of this, like, just going back to the whole traditions thing, I have to assume that a part of this relationship is going a bit against the grain when it comes to traditions they've had, or past traditions in general. Taehyung's Mercury overlaid in Jennie's second house. Difficult to see eye to eye together. There does seem to be some things, I feel like emotionally, that seems to be very difficult to sort of meet at a reasonable pace. They lack common views and both get the impression that the other doesn't get them. I have to assume this is more in Jennie's end, because for Taehyung, he seems very comfortable around Jennie, seems like, you know, she feels she gets her. The Mercuries are conjunct together, so they think like each other and they share interests. Definitely career-wise, they would. They enjoy each other's company, they are good friends, they value each other, and they see eye to eye most of the time. Well, it seems like that would come with a bit of difficulty to eventually get to that point. Approach problems the same way, and they just get each other. Understandings are unlikely, and possibility for heated debates. Both feel they have found their intellectual match. I feel like in some ways they definitely are on the same page with certain things. I feel like on a more superficial level, definitely, I feel like just like their core personalities, they definitely seem to have some compatibility there. I just feel like emotionally, that seems to be a bit not there. Jennie's Mercury conjunct Taehyung's Uranus. Taehyung challenges Jennie's way of thinking. Again, there seems to be that sort of like opening each other up to new perspectives. Seems to be a very big part here. They're impulsive together and they both enjoy experimenting. They come up with original ideas together and discover new ways of seeing the world together. Jennie truly understands Taehyung's originality, so she seems to really appreciate who he really is. They grow intellectually together and they casually talk about taboos. They share an interest in unusual topics and they find uncommon solutions to problems. They are creative together. Have they potentially collaborated on something maybe? Because they are both in music. They could very well have collaborated together somehow. Jennie's Mercury sextile Taehyung's Pluto. Interested in unique subjects together. We literally just saw unusual, more taboo things. It's a therapist-patient relationship. I wonder who would be who. Normally, I'm like, that's definitely that person. But I feel like in this relationship, they both definitely seem to both have their own way, so potentially they could, you know, be both. But with Jennie, she seems to be able to sort of really open up Taehyung, really make him feel comfortable. With Taehyung, we have seen like he feels a bit more assertive and can potentially play a bit of a parent role to Jennie. They get to the bottom of things quickly and they share a lot together. Jennie is fascinated by Taehyung's depth. I have to assume this would be more in like an intellectual, creative way. Tell each other their deepest secrets and they both heal from past relationships together. Taehyung opens up Jennie to new ways of thinking. We're seeing again the whole opening up thing. They resolve deeper matters together and Jennie uplifts Taehyung. I'm pretty sure we did see in the beginning, I think it was like Jennie energizes Taehyung, one of them, the whole energizing. Taehyung appreciates Jennie's humor. We have Taehyung's Mercury conjunct Jennie's Uranus, so this is a repeated aspect, just inverted. So everything from before is further emphasized, but also Jennie challenges Taehyung's way of thinking, and Taehyung truly understands Jennie's originality, which I feel like we've seen, you know, the whole, I keep repeating myself, they're opening up each other to new ways of thinking and everything. Taehyung's Mercury conjunct Jennie's Neptune. Spirituality is prioritized and they have a telepathic-like connection. I'm pretty sure we did see earlier the whole intuitive communication thing. Taehyung helps Jennie turn her dreams into reality. They have a habit of telling the other what they want to hear. I don't know. Deceptive and exaggerative communication, and Taehyung finds Jennie confusing. I think this would have to go back to the intentions. I think we did see earlier Taehyung gets a bit confused with her intentions. But also we have seen that he can feel potentially a bit more confused about his own feelings in this relationship. Hard to talk about practical matters, so they definitely seem to clash a bit when it comes to more like practical matters, it seems like, which I feel like would make a lot of sense. You know, they both have their own independent careers. I'm sure they have their own sort of like little tricks and whatever, practical, more career things that they do on their own. They are compassionate towards each other. So now it's time for Venus. So we have Jennie's Venus in Pisces and Taehyung's Venus in Aquarius. It's an unusual relationship. I have to assume this would be just like their unique interests together, and it seems to be a relationship where they are challenging traditions and everything, so in that way it would be. They share humanitarian interests, and Taehyung loves to pick Jennie's brain. Jennie feels unfulfilled, I have to say, emotionally. Like, that doesn't seem to be great here. Jennie goes along with Taehyung's visions. Interesting. I have to assume this would be related to Taehyung helping Jennie achieve her dreams and everything, turn her dreams into reality. Potentially he gives her advice and everything, and like maybe has his own ideas for her career. Taehyung sees Jennie as too sensitive. Okay, so they both seem to see each other as being a bit more on the sensitive side. Taehyung helps Jennie creatively, so yeah, I assume there has to be some sort of like career music thing he's helping her with. Potential for a productive relationship, and they see the best in each other. Taehyung's Venus overlaid in Jennie's second house. Taehyung is focused what he can get out of this relationship. I never like seeing this in any relationship we do. Of course, any relationship in general, this isn't great, but you know, because we do cover these sort of more public, high profile people, it's like, oh, is this publicity? I don't think this is so far. This is the first time we've seen it, but like, oh. Taehyung doesn't feel committed to Jennie, and Jennie is careful to not get emotionally invested in Taehyung. There is definitely an issue. You know, Jennie doesn't seem to be like emotionally fulfilled in this relationship at all. So I'm not surprised she doesn't bother like investing her emotional side to Taehyung. Jennie's Venus sextile Taehyung's Jupiter. It's materially successful, and Taehyung finds Jennie interesting. So we did see, I'm pretty sure we just saw like throughout the whole reading, but like we just seen that Taehyung really likes to pick Jennie's brain, ability to get over issues, and they see the good in each other. These two things we keep seeing, they seem to like solve problems together and everything. It's a relationship of growth, and they trust each other. They thrive in each other's company, and they're a socially popular couple. I'm not surprised. They are both like at the top of the games in like their respective industries, similar industries. Jennie's Venus square Taehyung's Pluto. Fine line between love and hate. I agree. Like, there seems to be a lot of love here, but there seems to be a lot of key things that like dig into each other's skin, bring out each other's deepest insecurities. Okay, I was not expecting this because it seems like they both create a really good space for the other. Intense fear of losing each other and power struggles happen. The only thing we have seen when it comes to power struggles is for Taehyung. He seems to feel a bit more assertive here, and that sort of like parent dynamic. They cannot be just friends after, and Taehyung has the high power. Okay, so definitely on Taehyung's end, he seems to hold the high power. I assume there would be power struggles because like we have seen a lot more like direct things, like Taehyung is more assertive, he has the high power. But I feel like for Jennie, she could potentially sort of hold that high power herself. If Taehyung is more, he seems to be a bit more reliant on her and like really feels safe with her. That is kind of a sort of power dynamic in a way, like Jennie has. You know, she has the sort of like key to make Taehyung feel sort of like very safe and comfortable. Taehyung's Venus conjunct Jennie's Mars. Intensity doesn't fade, and they always remember each other. There's petty arguments, and they know how to push each other's buttons. Taehyung attracts Jennie with his charm. So now it's time for Mars. We have Jennie's Mars in Aquarius and Taehyung's Mars in Capricorn. Relationship lacks affection, and they neglect each other, which we have seen before. Like, there definitely seems to be an issue of like separation, neglecting each other. Jennie makes Taehyung anxious, and Taehyung is hard on Jennie. We're seeing this a bit more earlier. There seems to be like an, not issue I guess, but like both of them seem to be a bit more critical with each other and are sensitive to that. Taehyung's Mars overlaid in Jennie's second house. Taehyung triggers Jennie's possessiveness, and Taehyung is patient with Jennie. The whole Jennie being possessive, we did see earlier she's the one that seems to want more stability in this relationship. And with this reading, we actually have seen more of those domestic things. So potentially, maybe, Jenny sees that kind of feature with Taehyung, and that's why she's possessive, maybe. Just trying to gather and link everything together. Jenny is more materialistic in this relationship, and Taehyung is sentimental with Jenny. Taehyung treats Jenny as an object. I don't like seeing this and how we saw that he's focused what he can get out of the relationship. That sucks. Jenny tends to be more masculine in this relationship. Okay, maybe that's where the whole power struggle things, because generally, in a more stereotypical way, masculine energy can be a bit more assertive and dominant, and that could be challenging Taehyung's natural assertiveness. Jenny's Mars sextile Taehyung's Pluto. Jenny's daring nature is attractive to Taehyung, and the competitive we see again. Potential to be destructive or dangerous. I wonder in what way they have power issues. So potentially that is where they sort of deteriorate the whole power struggle thing. Potentially how that sort of thing can become destructive and dangerous for them. Taehyung's Mars conjunct Jenny's Neptune. Taehyung may resent Jenny for not giving him enough space. So she seems to tend to be a bit more possessive of him. Taehyung is fascinated by Jenny's ethereal mindset, and they are both humanitarians. We see that again. Jenny sees Taehyung as a knight in shining armor. That's interesting, because we have been seeing that he seems to really help her career-wise and creatively. Potentially Taehyung helped Jenny get into the industry. I know in the last reading with Taehyung, I can't remember if it was him or Jungkook, but one of them helped. There wasn't that sort of element of helping the other get into the industry. If it was Taehyung, I would love to know more about him and why he's bringing all these people in the industry. Jenny is likely to become dependent on Taehyung, which potentially would lead to her being a bit more possessive. But it also makes sense if he's helping her career-wise, maybe she would become more dependent on him. You're helping with my career, please keep giving more tips, whatever. So that was the final aspect, bringing us to the end of the reading. If you are still watching, please share your thoughts below. I would love to hear your thoughts about this one. I feel like this was definitely an interesting reading. I feel like it was a nicer one as well. There were definitely some very nice parts to this reading, which I always appreciate. If you have made it this far, please consider subscribing for more. I post these readings weekly. Besides that, give this video a like, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!